Touch on one more thing that's happened in the last couple of days. The Trump White House has barred the Associated Press indefinitely from participating in the pool of reporters. That includes going into the Oval Office. That includes being on Air Force One. And they're doing so because of a dispute over the name of the Gulf of Mexico. The AP saying the Gulf of Mexico is AP style. That's what we've been using. We're not going to change it. Trump White House angry because they want it to now be known as the Gulf of America. Talk to us about where things stand here and something that's really important. The AP, for those who don't know, acts as the eyes and ears for a lot of local, smaller newspapers who can't, staff Washington, who can't staff the White House. And they're a permanent member of that 13-person press pool that travels everywhere the president does, no matter who that president is. And shutting them out is a significant development.
Yeah, this was really escalated on Friday when an AP reporter showed up to get on Air Force One to travel with the president to South Florida and was essentially turned away. Jonathan, look, I think the White House wants to have this fight. They dispute the idea that this is a First Amendment question. Their argument is the First Amendment doesn't guarantee specific outlets, specific kinds of access in limited spaces like the Oval Office and aboard Air Force One, and that the Associated Press still has its credentials. They're still in the briefing rooms. They still cover the president like the majority of news outlets do who aren't participants in the pool. But this fight over language and who can decide what kind of coverage is appropriate to continue to get that kind of access that a news organization is typically used to getting, I think, is probably... Well, I don't want to speculate. I think, again, this is a fight that the White House wants to have here. They want to sort of say, this is how we're doing things. And just because you've always been here doesn't necessarily mean that's the way that it's going to continue. They want to say, it's not up to the AP to have a style book about language. It's up to us to decide what something like the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America is called. And I think they relish these kinds of discussions and these kinds of fights about press coverage as opposed to some of the other things that are going on inside and around the administration.
NBC's Garrett Haake, thank you very much. And I'll say, Katy, there's certainly the White House Correspondents Association has denounced this move. There's certainly fear that other media outlets could be next, that this may not stop with the AP, the Trump administration trying to handpick who gets that sort of access. But certainly the WHCA and others have noted that it's not the right of any elected official, no matter party, to dictate the language that a news organization uses.
Yeah, and I think it is worth pointing out, Associated Press, where you used to work, non-partisan, non-political, doesn't take a point of view, tells it like it is. I mean, it really is one of the... There are not very many news organizations left in the world where people can go to and know that what they are getting is news without a point of view.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what the Associated Press does.
We'll be staying on it, for sure.